guys, how's it going? So in today's video I'm gonna be discussing the interview with Cam Battley and Midas Letter, or James West from Midas Letter. Today's action was kinda, the volume was very low today, but it was very volatile today. It was like up and down the whole day, and it kinda just, down 2% by the end of the day. Canopy's volume is also very low too. Canopy's volume is dropping, so that's a good sign that Canopy stock might go down, or the volume might all of a sudden pick up again, depending on the news. But Canopy already came out with their big news. I don't think there's going to be any more news in the pipeline for at least another month, a month and a half. So, you know what, I'm thinking that Canopy will pull back. I just don't know how much they'll pull back, but I think they will eventually pull back. It might take a few weeks, it might take a month, but I think eventually Canopy will pull back. Unless they go up even more, they're gonna pull back, because stocks either move up or they pull back. So, and I'm thinking that the stock will pull back because the volume is dropping. So it's just a matter of time and patience, in my opinion, but eventually it will pull back. Aurora, Cam Battley came out with an interview today. It was very good, and it's hard for me to see the stock keep going down after that interview, because that was a very, very good interview. The volume is dropping off, so that is a concern. The stock market looks like it's like, it just keeps rising, and that's dangerous, because any day we could have like extreme red day. We just need one horrible earnings report, and the entire, on a big company, and the entire market could get dragged down. So I don't know, but right now the market seems to ignore everything. Facebook came out with some bad news today. I'll discuss that later in another video, but I'm going to start this video that I just made bookmarks for. So let's begin.
Canadian. Why would Aurora be raising funds in US dollars right now?
Because we can.
I see.
This is important, and so this security is something that's available only to the top companies in the cannabis sector, and it's ideal for us right now because of its flexibility. And I can tell you that yesterday was a little bit of a stressful day, because we were in the red. I think you used the term on a tweet, forcefully, that the market reacted forcefully. I think that's because people assume that there would be dilution associated with this raise.
That is exactly the concern that we saw on our chat boards yesterday. So how are we to look at the dilutive factor here?
So this is a different instrument from what we've seen before in the Canadian cannabis sector. This is not an equity raise. This is a convertible note. And so we have the option to settle this note at our discretion, at Aurora's discretion, in cash or shares. And I can tell you that it's our intention to treat this essentially as a 5% loan, as a 5% unsecured loan.
So it's not actually convertible debenture, it's convertible note. And
right.
Any conversion is solely at Aurora's discretion.
It's at our discretion, and that's really important, because it also gives you a signal as to our level of confidence with respect to our future cash flow. So this matures in 2024, and our projections as to our revenue growth and our free cash flow over that period give us a high degree of confidence that we'll be able to settle this substantially, if not entirely, as in cash.
So it's non-dilutive.
Non-dilutive, and that's very important. I'm well aware that shareholders in cannabis companies are concerned about dilution. It's understandable. Dilution has its place, and I think that we have deployed shareholder capital in a very intelligent way over the last 3 years since we began commercial operations. We've acquired an unmatched, I think, array of assets and capabilities with the objective of being the most integrated cannabis company in the world, and also establishing the largest global footprint in the world, and we've done that. We're now operating in 23 countries. So we have I think, deployed shareholder capital in a very prudent and intelligent way with a very specific strategy. That said, we started with our guidance last week indicating that.
I just wanted to add that I think Aurora, this is on my personal thoughts. I think Aurora did deploy the shares. They used the capital that's in the stock very well to acquire good assets that makes the company more valuable and maybe over time even more valuable. But that's just my opinion. Metroleaf might be overpaid a little bit. But no, you know what? No, I don't think Metroleaf was overpaid, because if you look at Afria, it's worth like $2 billion, $2-ish billion, and you know, Kronos was worth, I don't know, 2-point-something billion dollars. So Kronos got bought by Alturia. If Metroleaf was around, maybe Metroleaf would have been bought out by another big company. But now they're integrated with Aurora. So I do believe that Aurora did pretty good by acquiring Metroleaf and Canamed. Just my opinion, though.
That we are now shifting gears. We're shifting gears away from the era of really aggressive M&A. We're slowing that down. We've decided to let people know that we're going to be very selective now in terms of our future M&A, with a focus on open.
Little thing add on that M&A. So that means that you guys have to expect more dilution. They already diluted shareholders quite a bit. It's over 1 billion shares, and on top of that, they just they do already have some convertible debentures on the market. I don't know if I have no idea if they converted yet. I haven't looked at the balance sheet, so I don't know for sure if they converted those convertible debentures. And then on top of that, I kind of have a loss of thoughts. Let's just continue, because I totally forgot what I was going to talk about. Sorry about that.
Opening up international markets, and at the same time shifting gears to focus on very disciplined execution, on cost management, and that stake that we put in the ground through our guidance last week with respect to achieving profitability in the middle of this year. So what we said specifically is that we believe that we will be EBITDA positive in the second calendar quarter.
Fantastic. So then can we talk a bit about who are the investors in the debenture?
So let's start with our bankers, because I really want to give them a shout out. Our bankers were BMO, Bank of Montreal, and Cowen in the US. And they have been a dream to work with. Really, really smart people, really dedicated. They work at our pace, so no problem working 7 days a week. And they've helped us come up with a very, very good security. Now, the investors themselves, there are actually dozens of them, and it's primarily large U.S. institutions, some from Europe as well, some from Canada. And that's important as well, because these are long-term shareholders. These are not day traders. And one of the things that you and I have talked about before is that it's been my objective for 2019 to, if we can, reduce the volatility in our stock by bringing in more institutional shareholders. In the cannabis sector, it's very clear that the overwhelming majority of shareholders, of investors, are retail. And one of the things that we can do to help mature this industry faster is to bring more institutions into the story. And that's what we're doing right now.
Okay. Can you tell me what?
Okay, see, I like that. I really like what he just said there, that the convertible debenture that they raised was over a dozen institutional investors. On top of that, BMO and another bank in the US. So the way it's structured, it's very good, because it's institutional investors. So institutional investors have a lot of money. They've talked over, they've already talked to hundreds of institutional investors, and institutional investors have endless pockets. So, well, some of them do, but I'm not talking about like endless pockets, but they have a lot of money. So if you get a dozen of them, that could be literally billions of dollars, right? Like a few $1 billion just from a dozen institutional investors. let's move on to the next thing.
Interesting that, though, I mean, I want to go back to the fact that it's US dollars. Are we to read into that maybe some of this cash is earmarked for some kind of acquisition operation in the United States?
I'm going to choose my words carefully because I don't want to signal anything here. When we have something to disclose, we'll disclose it properly. But it's not unfair to assume, as we have stated in the past, that we are interested in the U.S. market in a number of ways. So since the Farm Bill passed, there are now opportunities for CBD, hemp-derived CBD, and the hemp business itself, in which we are heavily invested through HempCo, through AgriPro in the EU, and through ICC in Latin America. And we're also involved in the U.S. market through our spin-off, Australis Capital, which is assembling this delightful, very valuable suite of assets in the U.S., and for which we have a back-in right to the tune of 40% if and when cannabis becomes federally legal in the U.S. So it's not unfair to assume that we're focusing very hard on what we want to do when we can without disturbing our relationship with the TSX and the NYSE in the U.S.
So then, can I safely assume that this cash isn't really targeting anything specific right now? It's more or less just a topping up of the war chest?
We need to make...
Well, I kind of went past it, but okay, basically what he said was, I really like he's basically saying that, translation of what he just said was, yes, we are very interested in hemp. We're very interested in the United States. We're going into the United States to do hemp projects, just like Canopy. That's how I translated the whole message Cam Battley just brought up. And we're going to bring on to the next one, the last one.
Inflection point in this industry.
Matt Bottomley, the Canaccord cannabis analyst, was here with us this week, and he suggested that Aurora was very likely one of the most likely companies that was going to be the next beneficiary of a relationship on the scale of a super conglomerate, multi-billion-dollar pubco like Novartis, like Constellation Brands. Is it safe to ask you if any of these discussions are underway, or have they proceeded?
As long as I answer it carefully, it's safe to ask, bearing in mind that I really like not being incarcerated.
Right.
So we are not going to be making any news today, but I will give some color. One of the things that we spoke about with the institutions in the U.S. As we were marketing and telling the story of Aurora is that it's fair to assume that the companies from the U.S. and Europe and elsewhere, the leading companies in major mature industries that have been speaking with other companies have been speaking to us, and I would say in most cases probably first. Now, that said, we are keeping our powder dry, and I'll tell you why. We have received, I think, really wise counsel from the U.S. That we should be patient, not rush into partnerships, because as much as some of these big companies want to partner with us today, they will want to partner with us more tomorrow. And what changes over time is that we will be a much more valuable company. Aurora will be a much more valuable company in 12 months than we are today, in 6 months even. In other words, the value of our company is rising based on our fundamentals, based on the revenues that we're generating, based on our growth. I mean, I think we're projecting, based on the guidance we gave last week, about 68% growth quarter over quarter in our December 31st quarter. And that comes after an average of 44% quarter over quarter growth for the last 6 quarters. So when you're growing that fast, you don't want to sell yourself cheap. And therefore, it's worth considering whether you want to hold off, be smart, understand that you're going to be a player, but whether you enter into a partnership today or at some point in the future is a major consideration if you know that you're going to be more valuable in the future. I hope I'm not being too cryptic here, but it's an important consideration here, because my feeling and the feeling of our CEO Terry Booth and our management team is we measure twice and we cut once. I have zero doubt that we're going to end up with partnerships with mature industries. It's a question of when, and it's a question of on whose terms.
Well, fantastic update, Ken.
I really like that ending. So he's basically saying that a partnership is not out of the questions. They are trying to build their business to the point where they know that companies will pay even more money for their business. So I mean, Aurora, in the short term, I'm still okay. I still have shares, so I still have about 20,000 shares. I'm not gonna sell my 20,000 shares. I've said that in the past, and I used to have 160,000 on October 17th, and now I have 20,000 shares, but I do have a lot of cash. I may buy back into Aurora if Aurora price goes back to maybe like $6, $7. I'll buy back in a decent amount. I won't buy back heavy unless the stock price goes way below this. I don't know how it would go way below this, except for maybe a possibility of a stock market crash and the entire wheat industry just plummets again. That's the only way I can think of these stocks going back down. But you know, like if it goes back here, I'll definitely be buying more. I think Aurora long term will offer a very good value. So I'm crossing my fingers that Aurora goes back to $7. It may not. It may just, you know, flat line here, maybe dip down to $8 and then go all the way back to $10. So I mean, that's a possibility. Aurora after hours, you know, even after that interview, it's up 1 penny. So I mean, it's up and down. It's not really that interview did not really affect the after hours. We'll see on Monday. Monday's news. I think Aurora is not gonna have any news for a while. I think they're gonna be in silent for a while now. I think they're gonna announce a closing of the money, and then that's it. I don't think they'll have too much news for a while until maybe the end of February. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see though. But things are very interesting. That was a very interesting interview. I enjoyed it very much. I wish I just had more shares of Aurora, but I'll be patient. I'm hoping the market pulls down for me, but it may not. It may rise back to $7-ish, maybe. You know, but you know, I was thinking that the Aurora stock pulled up this high just so they can raise money at a decent amount without diluting shareholders in the future. I don't know. That's just a theory. I think the institutional pumped the stock up so they can announce a convertible debenture. I don't think it's gonna go back to $7, but I could be wrong, and it could. So we'll see. At the end of the day, I think Canopy will be the deciding factor. If Canopy pulls down big time, Aurora's gonna follow. But if Canopy stays at $50, $60, then Aurora might go back to like $9, possibly $10 Canadian. But anyways, thanks for watching my video. I'm making this early because I have things to do. Subscribe for future updates, and have a great day. Bye.